Hello and welcome each and every one of you. With you today is me, Daiga, multilinguistic international coach therapist from DCTcentre, and joining me again is Morganne Rayne, Adept, visionary, spiritual guide, ceremonialist, and artist, who we all already know and love. Hello, Morganne.
Good morning from the Pacific Northwest. We're very much into fall. It's really colorful around here right now with the bright golds and the reds, and but the leaves are coming down, and again, they remind me of that beautiful ability to let go of what is no longer useful. And so, and as we know, I've been doing big let goes this week. We canceled our show last week because I had to let go of my very dearest friendship, 40 years, unexpectedly passed away. And so, letting go is a big thing for right now. We're in that season, but letting go when you're anchored in your heart is it's a different thing. It becomes courage. And so today we're going to talk about courage. So just to kind of let everybody know where my head is at and where my heart is at.
And our show changed timing because we find out actually between England and America they can't figure it out to change times at the same time. To be honest, I have a huge question now to everybody: how they won't implement in all world QFS and Starlink and new money system and everything if they can't even manage to in the same day change time for each country.
I think that confusion is kind of the order of the day in the 3D world. That's why we don't want to hang out there too much. Of course, we have to. It's kind of a structure around us, right? That keeps us tethered to 3D and to our families and to that and to those things. Yeah, it's interesting. You would think that those who could plan a huge pandemic globally could have certainly planned the timing to be.
Maybe they don't want. Maybe at the moment they really try to confuse everybody out of their skin.
Yep.
Because imagine, okay, I in last minute literally figured out maybe you not changing time as same as me. So
it's a good thing you figured that out.
I literally 1 hour before show I realized maybe that's happening, that's the case. But imagine, okay, that show, if we start 1 hour early, start 1 hour later, yeah, that would not be the end of the world for us and for anyone else for that matter.
No.
They can watch show later on and it's not going to disappear. But imagine if you have to travel now. Every country and different timelines, because I have client in Russia who actually didn't change even for summertime. So she's completely different time zones. Yeah.
We have a state here, I think it's Arizona, they don't change their time. They don't change. So the rest of us are all in confusion.
Yeah. So everybody, if you have to travel, that's horrible.
Well, we change on Sunday morning at 1:00. So
we changed last Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We changed last Sunday. So, but Russia, I think, not going to change again.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, let's go on with our show.
All right, very good. This has been a really tough week for me. In this process of getting news. You go through all those stages of grief, right? And um I'm totally now I've accepted this, and I'm just in that place of um all the memories, all the things that she and I have done together throughout the years. We made huge contributions in our world in the field of nutrition and homeopathy and herbal medicine a long time ago, where we would invite people to come and lecture in the Seattle area on these kinds of things. One of those was a beautiful woman she's gone now a long time, Dr. Ann Wigmore, who pioneered wheatgrass therapy for curing cancer. And she also founded the Hippocrates Institute. And so we got to learn from her, and what a gift to learn from a master. And so there are many things that Laura, my friend's name was Laura, that she and I did together and promoted together, and as well as all the fun things we did with my family. So this week has been really her energy, our life together has kind of been it's just been there present for me all week. But the greatest thing that out of this, it comes the understanding of courage, because there were a few days I didn't want to move. I just couldn't move. I could barely find a breath. So it was like, no, you got to breathe, you got to move, right? So I had to find that energy within myself to engage back in the land of the living, because when you're in a kind of a death spiral thing, and you're so close to someone, you kind of get in that spiral with them, and it leaves you wrung out and tired and with not much. But if you move back into your heart, that's where you find the impetus to move, to breathe, to live. And so that area is where we call courage, right? So when you move back into kur, it means heart. Courage is of the heart energy. So moving back into the heart. And so I just want to talk about a little bit about courage today. And I've got a little thing I have. So we have physical courage. So I'm gonna look at 6 types of courage, because it took all of these things to get me moving this week. So physical courage, that's to keep going with resiliency, balance, and awareness. So let's just take a look at that physical courage. I need physical courage to get up and just move, right? Just go take a walk, go walk my friend's dog. That just get into that physical courage to want to engage in your world and move in your world. So for me, it was when I landed back in my own heart that the physical courage could then be engaged and is willing to get up and move and not hide. And it's interesting, because when I went out and moved, I carried that grief with me. Even though I put on a happy face, the grief was still like hanging on me, and people could see that, and people who know me that would see me walk and go, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I just wanted to just get out and walk and move, and it gave me the opportunity to share with people what was going on in my life, right? You don't always have to show up with this happy, cute face and be the rah-rah champion of the world. There are times when your life intersects with your spirituality. And that's what happened last week, was big life intersected with my spirituality. So I got to share when I did go out with people that I knew out that were walking, and they could offer me love and support like you did. Like, you sent me love. I can feel that. That's what helps lift we who are still on the planet, lift one another up. And so from that ability just to physically get out there and move, and finding the courage to do that gave me the opportunity to interact and share more. So that was really powerful. I love this next one we're going to talk about. It's called social courage. Now, you and we have to put on social courage a lot. So what is social courage? To be yourself unapologetically. I love that. To be yourself unapologetically. When we started up in the Northwest, there's a lot of progressive liberals here, right? So when all the gender neutral things started coming in, I noticed a lot of the people I know started changing. At the end of their name, they would put he, him, she, her, they, them, the pronoun, the correct pronouns.
Don't go there.
I'm going there. already gone there, Daiga. Okay.
Morgan, for me, this subject is like for bull red cloth. Because I just feel like it's literally deep state propaganda to play with everybody's brain, to put each person against another person for no reason whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. I do not have any problems, with gays or any other race or belief system, anything. I've been working and I've been friends with many different people from different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. But when I now see all this he, she, and when at the moment I'm going through so many application forms, and then in each single application form, first have you consider who you consider yourself, you consider this she, she, something, and then only on very bottom, is male or female.
Yeah.
Or woman or man,
Yeah.
Sorry, no, that's not right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Whoever started it, whatever started it, whatever, it is what it is. But I was way ahead of that time, because on on my emails, I've always written my name, and underneath it I write I am. And
maybe now in application form for me or for you need to put like any other name you want to call yourself.
I am. I write I am, and a lot of people I've been doing this for a long time, and people comment on it, like, I love that you put that, or what does that mean? Or, I love it because it opens up a conversation, right, about that. So that's my social courage, is to state who I am, right? I am Morganne. I am love, right? So I put the I am as my way of saying each of us are the I am, right? Each of us are the I am. And to socially go out there and be myself unapologetically as the I am, it starts up a lot of great conversations. And, you know, it's interesting because people who know me know that I'm not going to get in the he, she, they, them. They know I'm not going to go in that box because I see it as right now as a, it's much like back in the 60s. Some of us called ourselves hippies, some of us called ourselves frats, some of us called ourselves hoods. You know, we had all these boxes we could jump in, right? And try on their clothes and try on their attitudes and try, get to experiment with it. And I don't see this anything other than that. Except that I know that this might be even bigger because now they're beginning to mess with people's hormones through medical intervention, right? So let's just go back to social courage, to be yourself unapologetically. What I see is if people keep jumping in those boxes, they can be he, she, they, them, whatever, or frat, hippie, hood, whatever you want to be in. You get to try on those things and emerge from that what works for you and leave behind what doesn't work for you, right? So part of the old hippie days, there's a part of hippie that lives in me. My kids have called me a hippie yuppie chick. Because I still kind of wear kind of hippie-ish clothes. I mean, look at, I got long hair, I can be seen a lot of days with no bra. It's like I still wear sandals. It's so there's a part of that free, not being bound or wound up about the hippie thing that I'm 70 years old. I still do that. And because it's just a part of who I am. So I can be so in my social courage. It's okay for me to be this way. And I'm not going to change that for anyone else's comfort or anyone else's deciding that I need to be something different. Now that's happened before where people say, oh, you need to not wear those kinds of clothes. You wear, you wear these kinds of clothes. And in the corporate setting, I totally get it. You kind of got to fit in with that. But there's always that edge with me. I might be wearing a suit, but I got a big floppy earrings on, just something to, you got to express yourself some way. So to go out into the world to be unapologetically yourself. I mean, how many times have we not done that we shy back and we hide ourselves away because we're afraid of what we're going to hurt someone. And last time we talked, I think this is when we were on the show with Alicia, I talked about a miracle that had happened in my community with someone who had out of their fear offended me and hurt me and or tried to do that, because for a little while I did get offended. I got a little scared, but after I sit with it for a while, it's like, oh, they're just afraid. Oh, they need love, right? So that's part of who I am. And I won't apologize for that. Oh, you're afraid. Let me love you some more. And out of that, there was this great movement of trust and love, because who doesn't trust love, right? And this person came to me for support, for love, because she knows, because I am unapologetic about being the presence of the I am love. She knew where to come get that, right? If I hid that away, who would know that? So unapologetically, I state all the time, I am, and then I fill in my I ams. I am love, I am joy, I am peace. And last week I was sadness and I was at loss, So when you are unapologetically being present with where you are, I think it's very powerful. So I invite our listeners to think about socially, what's your social courage? do you have the capacity to be out there fully and completely with really who you are, not with what people tell you to be or how you're programmed, but how you know you are after time of being within, right? So social courage, moral courage is the third one we're going to talk about today. And this kind of bridges over what you were just talking about, right? With the moral courage. Doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. So that's moral courage, doing the right thing when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. And so we have to, in order to be in your moral courage, you have to have a moral compass. Like, what do you believe in the world, right? So that comes back from the I am of who are you? You know, who are you putting yourself forth in the world to be? From this place of who you are, what's the right thing to do? So when I got attacked in at the beginning of everybody saying, oh, you got to have these shots, you got to do this, if you don't, then you're an abomination to society. Well, people bought some of that hook, line, and sinker, right? And but the moral courage for me was recognizing they were just being fed a whole heap of fear. Every one of them had been fed a whole heap of fear all at one time. And so what would be my response to that? So if I didn't have a good moral compass, my response might have been, oh, they don't like who I am. They don't want me here. I need to leave. I just need to run away. So I would have made my choices from not from that strength of my moral compass. I would have made it from their fear. I would have been trained with their fear, their suffering, their line of bullshit that they had been receiving. But because I've committed to who I am, my moral response was to love them and just to hold everyone here in safety and love and light, and that eventually I knew that the truth would make its way out, right? But my moral courage was to do what was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to love them in their fear and anger, but I did it anyway. It was unpopular for me to choose love rather than fear. So moral courage is when you really sit down and you know who you are and what you represent in the world. And for me, it's, I chose a long time ago. My motto is to love no matter what. Sometimes I go, why did I choose that? Because I'll get presented something and I go, and I'll hear the voice, can you love this? Well, can you love this? So those things. And if I say, yes, I can, I may not know how, but yes, I can love this. And I know that the strength of within me, the divine within me, will show me how, if I'm willing. So to love no matter what is my moral courage that I put forth in the world. So there's three different kinds of courages. The next courage we'll talk about is emotional. Now, let me back up. Do you have any questions about these?
No. I'm now pretty on point.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to take a cup of my coffee. Hang on.
Okay, I can take a cup of my water.
This is so good. All right. Emotional courage. Feeling all your emotions, positive and negative, without guilt and without attachment. Take a breath. Feeling all your feelings, negative, positive, without guilt and without attachment. So they're feelings, right? They're energy pockets that are within you that rise up. Last week, of course, I was on an emotional roller coaster, right? My friend, the first thing I got was her husband letting me know, I've taken Laura to the hospital. She's not well. I don't know what's wrong, right? And then it was the next day, ramp up the prayers, something's going wrong. And then it was the next day, early in the morning hours, where we received the news that she had passed. So there was this huge emotional roller coaster. And I had a busy week all lined up, right? So, but I couldn't be in that busyness because I really needed to tend to what was coming up and what was coming forward and what was being stirred up inside of me. So that emotional courage to feel the loss, to feel the joy that we had been. I mean, I've gone high and low all week. I just break out in laughter at some of the things. And so you got to know about my friend. She was deaf. And I'd been with her as the deafening started and into when she totally was deaf. So it was quite a journey with her in getting very clear on how to communicate with her, right? Very clear on how to communicate so she would not misunderstand. So we had to develop.
Little input. My partner is deaf. So I do know how you need to adjust and you need to make sure the other person understands. So
Yes, you do. And that's love, and that's intimacy, when you care that much that you want this person, because just because they don't have one of the senses that we enjoy doesn't mean that they can't feel or know or understand. They just don't do it through the modality. So it requires something deeper of us, right? Something more within us. And that's a place of love, where we love so much that we want them to know how we think, how we feel, and to share. So that's beautiful. So having her as a deaf person in my life has always been very interesting. So we'll go back to that emotional courage. No matter where we are. So I do a lot of work around people who have trauma. Trauma is emotions that have been stopped. I mean, they just, something has happened, something usually really bad has happened. And when that happens to people, usually the first thing that happens, like yesterday, I worked with a lady who's just been diagnosed with cancer, right? And she was here, and she was telling me, and she wasn't breathing. And she goes, I know I shouldn't be this way. And then she would just stop breathing and move on to something else. I go, no, go back to that feeling. Let's go back to how this is really landing on you. Let's talk about that, right? Because what will happen is we don't want the bad feelings. So we stop them, and we switch, we try to do something different other than the bad feeling. But the truth is, we got to get into all the feelings that we have. I think I've shared on your program before a Rumi poem. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a pain, a suffering, a loss. You can just fill in the blanks, right? They all come knocking at your door, let me in, right? And Rumi says, open the door. Let them all come in, feel what they have, listen to what messages they might have to say. invite them in. What he says is greet them at the door laughing. Well, some days I could greet them at the door laughing, go, look at you. You showed up again. I haven't felt you for 100 years. Well, come on in. Let's see what you got to say, right? So that's kind of how I do my feelings now. I'm pretty fluid with it, but that took practice. And so in our emotional courage, it's so important to feel deeply the good feelings and feel deeply the feelings that are not so good, the fears, the angers, all of that, because every one of those have a special message and a special encouragement for you. So if we don't do it, you get another opportunity because they always come back. So might as well let them in, explore it. And then I think we talked last time, we talked about emotion, energy, motion, energy in motion. And if we're not addressing the emotions, then it's not in motion, it's stuck. And that's where trauma starts setting up. And then our physical bodies begin to react to that. So emotional courage is really important. And I see it more and more. People are starting to need to, I do want to, something just popped up in my mind. I was remembering something my daughter said to me. Probably, this is my oldest daughter. She's going to be 52 this year. Can't believe I have a 52-year-old daughter. But I do. But I remember something I said to her to offer some guidance, because something she was saying and doing was really landing poorly, right? And I said something about that. And she just looked at me. She goes, "You're just so unkind." Well, that's exactly what she was doing. She was just being she was really being unkind, saying some really ugly shit. So, and I did it in a very loving way, but see, for her, she wasn't willing at that time to hear what I had to say. She could not go into the depth of what she was doing. She was just doing stuff, but she wasn't understanding. She was doing it from pain. She was doing it from a hurt. And let's talk about that. Let's be with that. But for her, it was, you're being unkind. She would just rather hold on to that anger and that part, right? So, and I noticed that kind of generation of 50, 40s, 30s, 20, especially now these days, you can't say anything to people without them coming back of, well, you don't accept me, you're being unkind. So they're going to have a lot of work to do here pretty soon when they start hitting their pockets of deep wounding, right? So I'll be here to help them. I know you'll be here to help them. Emotional courage, so important to really dive deep on each of the spectrums, the positive, the negative. Okay, the next one is intellectual courage. Intellectual courage is to learn, unlearn, and relearn with an open and flexible mind. That's intellectual courage, right? So say you've known something, and then you find out, oh, that may not be true. And then you kind of in a decision place right there. Well, am I willing to just go ahead with what I've believed in the past? There's that word believe again. And you and I have a special relationship with that. Do I believe what, or belie that which I've been taught? Or do I now begin to become curious about this new way of thinking about something? For me, curiosity that's for me is what that intellectual courage is. That's what feeds my intellectual courage. I'm willing to be wrong. I am willing to make a mistake. I am willing. I also trade in the stock market early in the morning. You have to be willing not only to win, but you have to be willing to lose, right? So in the old days, that was, you don't lose. You just don't, you might be losing, but you don't talk about it, and you certainly don't incorporate it in your plan of life. But the truth is, we win, we lose, we win, we lose, we gain, we decrease. It's just a part of it. So it's the in breath, it's the out breath, it's the ebb, it's the flow, it's the yin, it's the yang. So if we are intellectually stymied, then we just go on what we think we know, or what we believe until life presents it back in a way that's like, oh, wait, maybe now I really need to rethink. So it's rethinking, it's relearning, and so it takes that mental flexibility, right? So to be flexible in your own thinking and realize you may not always be right. Back in the old days, when I had my last job, I noticed within the people within the office that people were really unwilling to take responsibility when they made a mistake. So, and you could see them like pushing off something that had happened, and people would know where the source of that was, but then they would try to, I guess the new buzzword is gaslight others, blame others. So they deflect from their own responsibility. And so I noticed this was going on, and I was like the lead in all of this. And so I made a decision one day to, I had done something incorrect, right? So what I did that day was I jumped up from my desk and I went, I made a mistake. Yes, I made a mistake. And then I just sat down. Well, that kind of started like, what is she doing? I already got the reputation that I'm a little out there, right? What is she doing, right? A couple hours later, I did the same thing. I jumped up, and then so later we had a meeting, and someone wanted to know why was I doing that? I said, I did that because I want to take responsibility for my actions. I said, that gives me the opportunity to correct it. But if I deflect or gaslight or blame others, then I have no opportunity to correct it. So it just becomes a mistake, right? But if I take responsibility for that, I learn something new, I grow, everybody grows. Well, pretty soon, now we got people popping up all over in the office. I made a mistake, and everybody's yay, right? So we have these little popcorns of I made a mistake. When we can own that we make errors in our life, we make mistakes in our lives, then we become way more forgiving to ourselves. But it gives us the opportunity to be way more forgiving to other people because we all make mistakes. That's part of it. Now, I'm just going to do a little sidebar here. There's this thing called sin. Is a big mistake, right? It's a big mistake. But sin, the meaning of the word sin is, it's an archery term. It simply means to miss the mark. That's all it means, to miss the mark. Now, if we miss the mark and we know we missed the mark and we don't do anything to correct it, and then we do the same thing again and again, now it becomes something called a sin, right? That we now need to ask for forgiveness for. So it's kind of like that hanging on to a belief that doesn't work, that could be a sin in some ways, right? Because some people believe it's okay to harm others or steal from others and all of that. Well, if you have a good moral compass, none of that's going to be happening. So all these courages will assist you to become and develop your own moral compass so that you can develop your moral courage, your emotional courage, and your intellectual courage. So intellectual courage, again, is to learn, unlearn, and relearn with an open and flexible mind. Any questions around intellectual courage?
Not as much questions as just little input. At the moment, I think this intellectual courage needs to be very much reconsidered, because now you really need to relearn everything what you've been told before. And the worst I find that those who are so count as very intelligent and feel they are very intellectual and very uh, with great skills and educated, and they actually is the ones who don't want even look into any possibilities rather than what they've been learning 100 years ago.
Yep. Yep. And that's a great way to think about that, right? And intellectually, I know a lot of professors and lawyers and doctors, and I hear them in their training. I hear what they've been trained to do and how they've been trained to think. And I'll even go back to my general practitioner when all the COVID started, and she was offering me the shot, and she goes, you should not take this because you had a reaction from a shot before. And I go, that's correct. She goes, I would encourage that you would take it. Right. I said, oh, so I could have a reaction. She goes, well, this is the protocol now. And I go, oh, protocol over people. I get that. Right. And she looked at me and she goes, Morganne, we're just all a bunch of guinea pigs. And she turned around and walked out of the office. And I just kind of sat there with that. And I go, yeah, because that's the way she's been trained. She's believed that. Now I know many doctors who have begun to think differently, like, wait a minute, something's not right here. I think everything we've been taught might not be true. So people are starting to wake up that what they've been told, what they've been taught, if they've been watching that television. I don't watch television, right? There's a reason they call it programming. Why do they call it programming? They're giving to you what they want you to think and feel, right? Commercials, they're telling you what to think and how to feel. If you use this product, you will be beautiful, da da da, right? So you go run out, you go buy. Right. It's bullshit. It is. It's programming. Just a little trivia here. Okay. So when marketing really started back, I don't know what year it was when a lot of the marketing started for products, the person who started that was Sigmund Freud's, I think it was his cousin. Because what he knew from what Sigmund Freud was doing was about the construct of the mind and how people reacted, right? He took all that information and made money off of that information on how to program humans to purchase what they didn't even need.
That's the same what is doing all supermarkets.
Yeah.
The same thing. They And as the been putting just recently, I didn't notice. I try not to notice all those posts what they putting up there around shop or anything. But once I was waiting there for something, and I noticed one post um, by the government's recommendations. We now moving products around shop. Now
Confusion.
government is recommending to move products around shop. Yeah. No, it's nothing to do with government. It's all to do to make sure you confuse people so much that they on end go all over all shop and obviously pick up from each ale what they don't even need.
Right. Okay. Government. Let's look at that word. Let's break that word down, right? Because you're hitting the nail on the head with let's look at that meaning. Government. Government. What is mint? Do you know what mint means?
It has to happen. It has to meant. It's meant to happen.
It's
Our
mind.
mind.
It's our mind. Ment
Yes,
is mental. It's our mind.
mental.
Right? What is govern? To control. Govern.
Mentally.
Control mind. Control mind. And that's what they do. We got to take them at their word. They show us every day what they're made out of, right? But that word government, it seems so harmless, but when you start breaking it down, it means to control our minds.
Another thing, if we're going to this direction, I don't know, you follow or you know about Charlie Freak.
I do. Oh, yes.
And he is excellent. I love him to pieces, only I can't watch 3 hour videos. It's for me, it's too much. I think my format when it's 1 hour, yeah, is sort of enough. You're getting what you want in 1 hour and then you do something else. But for him, I love him to pieces, but I can't watch all this.
Well, there again is a man who has intellectual courage to rethink, relearn
every single word.
Everything. Food, how you live, partnership, everything. He threw out how the government told him to think and be, and he moved back into his moral courage.
And I have goosebumps now.
Yeah.
He is actually one of the persons who I really want to meet in real life. I want to go there and just have 3 or 10 hours, because you cannot shut him up, I think.
Shut up,
without his wife, you can't shut him up. So I'm prepared to get some sort of 10-hour lecture about everything. But
yeah,
I love him to pieces. He's absolutely brilliant. This couple
He's brilliant. He's a brilliant mind, and he's got a brilliant mind, but he had to get a flexible mind first to become a brilliant mind. He had to unthink, unlearn, relearn.
And he done 2 or 3. I definitely know he done 2 higher educations. He has two higher educations, yeah.
Yep.
Still he managed absolutely change everything upside down.
That's right. He has. I'll send you a video from a woman who had been attending Antioch University, which is in Seattle. They might have Antiochs throughout the world, but they really teach that the critical race theory and non-bias and social justice work. And this is a woman who signed up for that program to learn it and move it out into the world. As she's sitting there, she's going, wait a minute. Something really wrong here. Something's not working. I'll send you that video because she really breaks down the mental play that happens, and how they want to program you to be a particular way. And it's very interesting. So I'll remember to send that to you. So we've now covered intellectual. So we've gone through physical courage, social courage, moral courage, emotional courage, and intellectual courage. And the last one we're going to talk about is spiritual courage. Mm-hmm. Of course, you know this is going to be my favorite one, right? This is living with purpose and meaning through a heart-centered approach towards all life and oneself. Isn't that beautiful?
And I again get goosebumps now.
To have spiritual courage. See me too, I'm going to cry. I'm feeling my emotions deeply. I'm not going to stop them, right? Having spiritual courage to live with lives of purpose. So every Thursday after we're trading, there's a man, Dr. Luis Ariaza, that he's our psychology guru, right, around trading. And he talks about the people that he works with in developing the method that we trade with. He calls them his partners of purpose. Partners of purpose. I love that. I go, oh, that's like Daiga and I are partners in purpose. We have a purpose. And what is that? That's to explore all of this, like what we're talking about today, right? We have a purpose to expand minds, to expand hearts, to expand people's life experience in a good and positive way. So we have a purpose. We're partners in purpose. Alishan and I, partners in purpose. And I have several people in my life, they're partners in my friend Laura and I, this 40 years, especially the first 20 of that, we had great purpose in the world, educating people and offering brilliant speakers to people. So we had purpose. So with spiritual purpose, you are living your life with purpose, living your whole life. So you get up in the morning. So you probably have heard me say this so many times, you probably can fill in the blanks for me. When I get up in the morning, I wake up and I go, oh, I'm still here. Who can I serve today? And please show me how. That's my morning. That's my first morning. That's what I do the very first thing. I'm still here. Because one of these days I'm going to wake up or not wake up and I'm not going to be here. I will no longer be of purpose here on this planet. But I think because knowing who I am, that my life is about making a difference in people's lives, helping people heal from their traumas, helping people expand their awareness and their consciousness, that I'll probably just take all of that to wherever I'm going.
But I think I don't want to even think if when all these new technologies come, we anyway will be able to get at least another 30 years back, yes? So I won't be what I am, I would be 30 years younger, and also so as you.
Yep.
So we will be, and we will get back completely full health.
Yep.
So that means there is no reason why we couldn't live for another 50 years.
That's right. And I would say Charlie Freak is on that course, right? Because he has rethought, he has relearned about food, right? About the
No, but
consciousness,
but
about the
I
conscious.
really, I really, talking about him, I really can't understand how somebody can live on juices, only on juice. He likes this watermelon juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
likes watermelon juice, and his wife likes orange juice. Yeah,
Orange.
and
Yep.
once a day they having salad.
Yep.
That's all they having.
Yep. Yep.
I really I cannot, maybe because I can't even properly do low carb diet
Well,
properly.
juice is not low carb. That's
That's what I
that's
that's
right.
what I'm saying. I'm struggling with low carb. Yeah.
Right. 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 So remember when you got introduced to the food pyramid?
Mm.
How old were you?
Me
Yeah.
in my 50s.
Yeah. So, if you look at what's at the top of that pyramid, that was them controlling you about how you should eat. And you were eating not for health. You were eating to feed the system of sickness, of illness, being prescribed something to counteract what your diet was creating, a body temple that wasn't healthy, right? So,
But it was all, I grew up on really delicious foods, really tasty, delicious foods.
yeah.
And my body does crave those delicious foods and this childhood taste, what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, this is a little sidebar about my friend Laura. When I first moved to the Seattle, I moved from the South. I grew up in New Orleans, and I moved here, and she was one of my very first friends, and she was so interested in plant life. She brought over to me strawberry plants. She brought over strawberry plants. She goes, these are the most delicious strawberries. Well, we planted them, and when they came up, they were little white ones. They weren't great big juicy red strawberries. They were little tiny white ones. Oh my God. The flavor of those was brilliant. It lit your whole being. One small strawberry, you could feel the nutrition, the nutrients within that one little strawberry. And those were wild strawberries. So I've cultivated those strawberries where I lived, and I've always taken one plant with me wherever I've gone. So I've got the genesis of the first plant that she ever gave me. And now where I live, I've got them growing in a huge garden, in a flower garden that's up the hill that I tend. And I got tons of these little wild strawberries there. So our food has been changed. But those little wild strawberries, that's natural. That's good. You can eat a couple of those and feel nourished and good. But you could eat a whole bowl of store-bought strawberries and not have that same kind of experience.
That's not the same. That's
It's not the
absolutely
same.
not the same.
Yeah. So when I grew up with a garden all my life. My mom grew a garden. So I ate out of that garden
Me too.
all day.
Me too. And I had when I grow old, I had even a garden for my husband's grandmother had a garden. So I've been surrounded with countryside relatives.
Mhm,
So we
mhm.
always get garden things.
Yeah. And here we grow organic food here in our gardens, and it's a big part of our community is to have organic produce. So yeah, so I'm very blessed. So I that's part of my courage is to eat from the gardens, right? Rather than eat from the stores, right? So I'll go chop off some of my kale. I don't need to go buy kale or chard or onions or potatoes. I just go, or carrots. I still eating carrots out of my garden. So, yeah, all these things. So those are all choices we make around our own I wouldn't say that we've formed a new belief about, actually that's an old belief, like we know what tastes good, we know what's healthy, we know that, and we don't have to choose what's being offered to us. We can always go back to what we know is correct for us. So today we've talked about courage, 6 types of courage, and I'm really grateful to the listeners, the ones who are listening today and who will hear this later, that they will examine where they are with their own courage, not wait for something terrible to befall them, right? But to examine what physical courage do you have the courage to get out there and move it, right? I just had an image of my little granddaughter who just turned 4. She loves to jump on the trampoline. So whenever I'm over there, come on, Grandma, let's jump on the trampoline, right? Well, first I got to heave my body up because it sits way high up, right? So I got to heave my body up and get on. And then we start jumping and laughing and falling and rolling around. And so you got to have the courage to go, I can do that, right? I'm 70 years old, but I can get up on that trampoline. I can jump. So we got physical courage. Examine that. Where are you physically? Get some courage. Go out there, move, bring in your balance, bring in your awareness. You know, one of those exercises I often do when we're doing a meditation, I say, feel your feet, go right to your feet. Right? Why do I do that? Why do I do that? That's bringing your awareness to your physical body. When you start feeling your toes and where your toes are landing and where's the heel of your foot and where's the arch of your foot, when you start going that, you're like landing into your body, right? So you got you feel actually, why don't we do a really short meditation here? I see it's 10:30.
Yeah,
So
it's already 1 hour. We already going past 1 hour now.
So we won't do a whole meditation, but let's imagine that we are doing it. Go to your right. So we go to our feet, right? Get grounded in your feet, right? So feel that energy in your feet. And just acknowledge where you are. There's my feet. There's my big toe. Oh, I can feel my heel. I'm in my body. Take a breath in. And be okay with being in your body. Welcome yourself into your body. This is having the courage to be fully present in your body. The courage to be fully present in your body. And boy, that's a big statement because so many of us are not attached to our bodies. We've incarnated in a body, and so we get our greatest learning here in this density with our physical body. So fully be present in your body. Take a breath in. Anchor that in. I am just fine in my body. I love being in my body. And breathe out and relax. Now we'll move into our social courage to be yourself, how you were designed to be, unapologetically. This is who I am. You don't have to go and just bash somebody over the head about who you are. Just be who you are unapologetically. You don't have to transform anyone's language or ways of speaking to be who you fully are. Just be yourself unapologetically. If you're creative and artistic, be that unapologetically. If you're a math whiz and you love numbers, be that unapologetically. Be who you are in your world authentically, and I'll use that word. Be authentically who you are in your world without anyone trying to sway you to be something different. Be anchored in who you are. Take a breath in. I'm free to be myself. Just feel into that. I accept myself and I express myself in my world. And now we're going to go into moral courage. So come into your heart. We develop a moral compass, doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable for you, or it might even be unpopular, because that happens now, where having moral courage might be unpopular. It's not about popularity. It's about being authentic. It's about being real. It's about coming back to your heart. It's about doing the right thing. Take a breath in. Establish within you that I have the moral courage to do the right thing at all times. And relax into that. We move into emotional courage, the courage to examine and welcome in all my feelings, all your feelings, the hurt, the pain, the laughter, the joy, the suffering, the fear, the courage, all of that. Welcome it all in. Be like Rumi. Greet them at the door laughing. Come on in. Have emotional courage and curiosity as to what message each of these emotional friends come calling, that come visiting, that knock on your door. Hi, hello, I am grief. Welcome grief in. Hello, hello, I am pain. Welcome pain in. And as we welcome in those emotions and feelings, we have the opportunity to be curious. We have the opportunity to find the gifts that are within each of those. Take a breath in. I have the courage to explore all of my emotions. And breathe out. Get into your body. And we're going to now look at our intellectual courage, the courage and the bravery to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. And this is where it takes a lot of curiosity, a lot of courage to say, wait a minute, maybe I don't know what's correct. Would I be willing to look at this differently? Could I look at this from a different point of view? Having the intellectual courage to re-examine how you think, to not be attached to being right. It takes emotional courage to do that. And our last one, spiritual courage. Living your life with purpose. Living your whole life, your every day with purpose. And what is your purpose? Your heart-centered approach towards yourself and to all life. So move into your heart, take a breath in. find your spiritual courage and move into your life as you let that breath out, imagining yourself exhibiting all these 6 ideas around courage. And we'll end this little meditation by stating so clearly, I am courageous in all ways. I am courageous in my life. I am courageous in my doing. I am courageous in my being. I am the living presence of love. Take a breath in. Feel into your feet one more time as we come present with one another again. And we open our eyes together again. And I just say thank you so much for being here with us this day as we've explored courage. Have a beautiful week. And so it is.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Morganne. It was another beautiful meditation. Thank you. And thank you everybody who is watching us, and thank you everybody who will be watching in the future. And if you like my videos, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and God bless.